Good morning. You guys can able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Guys, we'll start with next 10 minutes, okay? We'll start by 10:05. How far it is going, whether you understood the Docker as well as the machine learning services, what we have seen in the last class, is it okay for you or still it is being confusing even after watching the recordings? Mm-hmm. Everyone understood about the last class, right? About Docker, what is Docker, and
Yes,
why
sir.
Docker is being used.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if at all we have, sir,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, sir, actually, if at all we have any doubts or something to go back and listen to the classes back again for a revision, we could see through via YouTube, right, sir?
Yeah, sure. So if you have any doubts, rather than even if you watch the YouTube videos, right? Why? Because it's not everyone can't able to understand at their first go of watching or the second go of watching. Even if they multiple times of watching their YouTube videos, they can't able to understand. They need other support, what may you say, they need another use case to make sure that the concept is being understood or not. That's why I'm asking. Okay. And guys, today is your last lecture for your cloud practitioner. Okay, so today we're gonna see a very important topic. Okay, and pretty much we'll be taking much more time today because a lot of announcements and other successive activities are to be performed. Right. So before that, let's wait for the other participants to join. And how far the last classes? Like so far, we have done up to. Okay, we are gone up to day 5, right? So up to 5 classes we have done. And almost we covered almost around 50 to 60 percentage of AWS Cloud Practitioner, and today we'll be completing another 20 to 25 percentage of Cloud Practitioner portions. Okay, and remaining things, I'll be sharing you the notes or what I have planned is nothing but if I have time, I'll also post a video on YouTube with regards with CDPNetworks. You can just see those other services. Why? Because one part of the service we've not touched yet, so we'll be doing that thing too. And how far it is going, like whether now you understood how can transform your career into cloud, or is it okay, or you need like an what can I say? Is it okay for you to make sure that it's working good for you? Yes, guys, come on. Is it helpful for you to transform your career or some other things like new learning new technologies, learning cloud, or especially AWS, learning new services? Come on, you can speak up. Okay, so if you have any other concerns, you can also speak up so that we can. Okay, let's take a quick question. Okay, how many of you watched AWS reInvent 2023? Does anybody watched the AWS reInvent 2023? At least the what can I say? The online series of watching. Did anyone? If you haven't, just please reply no or yes or anything else. I don't know whether I'm being connected or not, whether my voice is audible or not. No, okay. No, I've just asked whether have you watched the AWS reInvent 2023 recordings or not, which was happened last month. 1 year, yes. Shahil, I have watched the reinvent 2023. Did you watch the Sahil? Are you there? Right? I think so. You're there. Okay. So, have you watched the VP of AI and Data Science, Mr. Swami, no, keynote? Because I would say that I watched only his keynote right now, and I'm planning to watch the remaining three of videos by tomorrow. That's all. So that if you have watched, please try to put it in a box whether what you have understood or what are the other offerings, the newest offerings from AWS so far. Come, at least you can just share your thing, right? Guys, can you able to hear me or not? Hello, hello, guys who are there. I mean, please check whether I can able to hear you or not. Yes, yes, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Yes, go ahead. If someone has watched Reinvent, have you watched or just mention what is the keynote you have watched? Okay, you should not to answer. Guys, rather than this, rather than him, can everyone has anyone watched the Reinvent 2023? Does anybody have time to watch that? Okay, guys. Okay, let's start our class today. And welcome to day 6. And I'm pretty much happy that so today is the last day of your cloud practitioner session, where today we'll be revealing those what can I say the key advantages of cloud practitioner and one of the important concepts we're going to see like it's fully theory. Okay, we are not going to have like this that concept is not going to be having any hands-on practices, and even if you search not going to be. Why? Because okay, so we're going to go ahead with that thing. And okay, guys, a very quick announcement. Please give your correct first name and last name in your Zoom login. Okay, so the name what you just gave in the Google form, please try to give the same name in the Zoom login too. Okay, it's very much important for us to track your attendance over here. Please try to rename yourself, the one with red tech. Please try to rename yourself with the name what you give in Google form. Why? Because it will help the admin team to track your attendance, please. Okay, so the admin team will answer for you. Okay. Um, guys, please rename yourself. Okay, fine. So today, so we're gonna see the what can I say, the AWS ecosystem, AWS architecting principles. We're gonna work with the 6 different principles needed for your design overview of AWS for cloud best practices. Like it's a very important topic. You need to know about it. Okay, and we're gonna give a deep, not a deep dive, a quick dive into VPC, a virtual private cloud, and finally we'll be entering into the billing support. Fine. So before starting, and as you guys know about it, for your cloud developer program has been kickstarting from December 16th, if I'm not wrong. Okay. So please, your pre-booking form is also available in the group description. Please use the pre-booking form. which where you can enter your details and please pre-book yourself. Why? Because pre-book has a lot of additional benefits which is given for you, like the attendees of the AWS Cloud Practitioner will get the 50% will receive the 50% discount as CDPNetworks has given to you. So you'll be getting a flat 50% 50% of discount in your what can you say AWS Cloud developer program. So, and you will be availing your 50% discount on not only in AWS and all the other Azure and GCP things, what can I say, working on it. And you can also, what can I say, access to your CDP community where you can post your questions. As a trainer, I will answer all the questions, and with the help of those questions, you can just get your things bit clear. And we'll be providing some job assistance and giving some job assistance and support. We'll be posting a lot of job opportunities for you and for both, what can I say, experience as well as for freshers, those who are working in and those who want to transform their career in terms of cloud from on-premises or from pre-sales to cloud to cloud, or they're going to be in entry-level graduates. And as you know that the cloud developer associate will be weekend sessions ranging from Saturdays and Sundays. Either it's going to be 2 hours or 3 hours based on the number of hours which is being given to us and what is going to be designed. And you can also take an advantage of your combo offer, guys. Okay, you can just take AWS plus VMware training, and VMware training is VMware is one of the important thing you need to go ahead and just learn it. And associated with AWS will be another key advantage for you, where you can learn the old concept behind the, what can I say, setting up a cloud infrastructure on your, what can I say, setting up a cloud infrastructure on your knowledge basis. It's a very important thing. And we'll be providing all the, what may say, study material and the notes what I'm sharing with you, with the help of all the questionnaires. And as I said before, I'll be, what may I say, pushing you with a lot of POCs. Like we'll be having a lot of hands-on over there, and pretty much I'll be covering a lot of newest hands-on with a lot of infrastructure scaling. And you will be getting all those things with 50% offer from CDP Network. So please, the pre-booking has started. Start your payment, get enrolled, so that you'll be under, what can I say, you'll be also an AWS certified developer associate after that. Fine. Okay. And for other details, for pre-booking, you can contact the admin team who is available here, as well as who are also available there at the WhatsApp group. You can contact there, and you'll be getting all the questionnaires answered with the community which is provided by CDPNetworks. And we'll also pushing a lot of, what can I say, interactive sessions where you can talk to me, and I'll be providing a lot of, what can I say, you industrial use cases which can help you a lot while you're preparing for your interviews and other circumstances, blah blah blah, etc. Right. And guys, and your review is very important for us, because since we are growing enterprise, we need to have a review. Please post your reviews on Google, and I've seen a lot of people has given good reviews, and I'm happy for that. And I will take some of the review. I'll take the reviews, and I'm what can I say? Thinking that I'm delivering a good content for you. That's very important, and that's very fascinating for me. You do have your feedback review here at the message link, as well as you also have that in the group description. Go ahead, give the feedback, so that whatever you think, whatever you suggest, that will be the most expressive part what we are trying to give. Right. Fine. Fine. Let's start today's class. And so we are gonna have the last class as today. And as I said, this class where we're gonna talk a very, very important thing, which is called as uh, what can I say, which is going to be called as AWS architecting and AWS ecosystem. And followed by that, we'll be going other please double check whether my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is very important topic, guys. Why? Because rather than knowing the services list of services, I would say as a beginner to the cloud platform, any other cloud platforms, not only AWS, it's going to be Azure, it's going to be GCP, it's going to be like other clouds which is available in the market. You need to know about how to design the infrastructure which is being given, which is being pushed to you. Like let me say you're gonna like if I want to provide if you guys want to create an infrastructure, if you want to create an architecture that helps your pipeline and that helps your POC pipeline to get built up and provides you a scalable efficient, so which provides you an what can I say output to you. You are supposed to create the infrastructure in such a way that you need to provide it in an efficient way. It should be in less, or can I say, it should be highly secure, and it should be user friendly, and everything should be what can I say most prominent to the user who's going to use that particular architecture when you deploy that thing. Right. So that's why, as I said, this topic is very, very important. And what can I say? It's full of theory. And if you have notes in your hand, please try to take only the important points. Just get to know about the design principles. Or else, if you don't understand or if you can't able to go ahead with the flow, what we are trying to go ahead, but because we have a lot of things to get covered in this session. And if you don't have the time, please go ahead and watch the YouTube video, pause it, try to take the notes and continue with the explanation what we are trying to give with the examples what we have in this particular class. Fine. Okay. First thing, the AWS architecting in ecosystem. So first, very important thing that whatever architecture would you build, right? Let's say you're working with EC2 services. You're going to build an EC2 server, a virtual server, which has been having security groups around it, which has been attached to EBS volumes, which has been attached with an automatic load, what can I say, application load balancer and sophisticated with auto scaling groups. So all those things are being there, right? So, do you think that for that particular use case, that architecture is gonna be a well suitable and more sophisticated architecture what you build? That depends upon what you're trying to focus on, right? That's where what we are here. What that's why we are here to focus on the well architect framework, where we're gonna give and where I'm gonna give you some general guidelines, general guiding principles where you need to follow as a cloud engineer, as a cloud developer, or a cloud security engineer, blah blah blah. A lot of other roles which is available inside cloud. What are all the things like as a cloud engineer or as a cloud trainer, what are all the principles I need to follow to deliver a well good and more clear cut understanding contents to you, right? That's the major thing what I'm supposed to focus on. So the first and foremost thing is all about stop guessing your capacity needs. Why? Because this is what I've said in the first class itself, right? Whenever you're getting into cloud, please, what can I say? Stop guessing your capacity. Why? Because let's say you're gonna work with EC2 servers, or let's say you work with some S3s, let's say you work with RDS. So EC2 servers are backed up with the instance type what you're gonna work on it, right? T2.micro is the free tier which is available. But if you want more than that, please don't guess your capacity before start building your architecture. Okay, let's say you're going to build a machine learning application. This is what we are trying to put it in the scale. Let's say let's say you're going to build a machine learning application. This machine learning application needs a sophisticated environment, a sophisticated instance type, which can help us to build the ML, what can I say, the machine ML application. So for this, as I said, when I'm taking machine learning part, uh, for this, you need at least like M2.x large and M2.4x large type of instances. Okay, M2.4x large type of instances. But for this, if you guess the capacity before starting developing your applications, you just put T2.micro, then what is the use of developing this ML application? Why? Because ML applications are very powerful applications, and moreover, it needs the GPU architecture in to do visual communication or visual data manipulation. So for that kind of applications or for that kind of data, if you put only T2.micro as an instance set, then that is not going to work at all. If you need larger instance type to make sure that the application is working correctly. So before building your application, if you have any kind of application, I just said with an example of ML, right? If you have any kind of, either it's going to be full stack, either it's going to be serverless application, blah, 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 any kind of application, please don't try to guess your capacity before start to build it, right? So that's the first thing you need to know about it. And second thing is test systems at production scale. Why? Because whenever you start building your system, right? Whenever you start building your infrastructure, please try to test before producing to the. You guys know about why? Because you are all from the software background, and some of you not. Some of you are not from the software background. I can able to do that. I can able to see that thing. So a lot of people who like whenever they are creating their software, whenever they're creating a software system, they will try to follow this SPM lifecycle. SPM stands for Software Process Model Lifecycle. Let me give you an instance. Like first and foremost thing is all about in software process model, the SPM model. And this is for the people who's not from the tech background, not from the IT background. So you need to know about these principles while you're developing a new software. Whether you are going to be in the developer side, whether you're going to be a tester side, you need to know as a tester or as a developer, you need to know about the SPM lifecycle. Okay, why? Because this is very important whenever you're building a new application. That application may be, or it can be any kind of application, right? The first thing you need to know about is the requirement analysis. What is requirement analysis? First of all, you need to know that, let's say you're going to build an application like Amazon. Okay, the first you're going to build an application like Amazon. Before Amazon, there is no kind of first of all, Amazon was built to sell their books, right? So if you know the story behind Amazon, right? So Amazon was started to sell the books. So before Amazon, they don't have any kind of web portal to sell the books or having any online e-reading portals, etc., etc. They don't have it. So, but what happens in there that customer, like the consumer who are there, who are present over there, needs a kind of web portal which will help them to access the learning. So what can I say? What the founders of Amazon thought is that, okay, this is what the customers' requirement. They need a portal or they need a web platform which can help us to buy books, groceries, or other equipments or other devices what they need. So it's in like they can buy everything. They need an e-commerce platform which will help them to buy anything what they can. And they should be having very easiest communication between the buyer as well as the consumer, between the consumer as well as the seller who's going to sell it. So this is what the requirement. After analyzing the requirements, what the customer needs, they want to start building up their product. Okay, so this is the first and foremost thing they need to know. Second thing is all about that. Once the what can I say requirement analysis has been done, we need to go ahead with analysis. Why? Because we gathered the requirement, we need to analyze it. We need to provide the require. We need to analyze the software what we're going to build it. Whether it's going to be there are a lot of analysis methods which is there. Detailed design and what can I say analysis design. There are a lot of analysis behind it. We need to first we have to put the design specification over there. Okay, then thirdly we need to start building up the product. I'm just giving in a very easiest way, guys. So next, start building the software. Why? Because once you know all those things and once you're done with the design analysis part, now you can go ahead with building the software. Okay, now I know what can I say software should be. Now let's start build the product. Well, let's start build the software with the developers what over there. Okay, once I start building up the product, first and foremost thing is nothing but I need to test the software. Okay, I need to test the software. Why? Because before releasing the software to the market, where the market consists of the consumers, we need to test the software whether it does have any what can I say issues or bugs are there or not. Okay, how we are going to test the software? There are a lot of testers. They know some testing guidelines. With the help of testing guidelines, they will test the software. Or what they will do nothing but they'll call someone from the consumer and they'll ask them to test the software whether they are satisfied with the software. If so, then they'll release the product to the market. If not so, they'll ask the what can I say developers to rebuild the software, change this requirement or these things. So, and once they release the product to the market, customers' requirements may be what can I say iterative, because one day today I do have these kind of requirements. Tomorrow I might have different requirements rather than this. Might be added requirements, or maybe the same requirement should be at the different scale. So this could be another iterative process, and after requirement analysis, design analysis will be there. So this is gonna be the software process lifecycle model, which is gonna be iterative. Okay, there are a lot of software process model, guys. If you go into tech background, to software engineering, you need to know about the waterfall model, iterative model, V model, which is verification and validation model. You'll be going into agile perspective. So there are a lot of other things you need to know. But for this, for the architecting and ecosystem, just you need to know about what SPM is all about. So very important thing is, before selling your product to the market, please test the software. Okay, please test the software. That's the second point you need to know whenever you are developing. The third thing what you need to know about is automate to make architecture experimentation easier. Why? Because nowadays automation is a very, very important scale you need to know, right? Whenever you why? Because now drag and drop features is one of the important thing. Low code, no code, LCNC, which is a very what can I say, developing schema which is being erased in today's what can I say, technological world. Okay, so everything should be automated. The developers as well as the testers just want to click this, drag and drop it, try to make it fit it in a space what they have. So to make sure to have an architecture experimentation, what type of architecture you're going to build, please try to automate the work, which can make you much more easier than doing it in a manual way. Right? And allow for evolutionary architectures, very, very important thing. As I said, evolutionary architecture is nothing but based on the requirement, the architecture should be changed, right? It should be evolutionary. And even when the what can I say? If you use any one of the services inside it, okay, then you have to upgrade the service to the next level. Or the software what you have been released through AWS might be having might be the now you should have the next release over there. So it should be evolutionary case which will help us to work on it. And drive architectures using data. Data is a very important scale. There are enormous amount of data available for in the technological world. Okay. If you are using Amazon, your personal information is one of the important things, like your name, your address, your phone number, your credit card details, your debit card details, your what can I say, your UPI details, etc., 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 and your personalized recommendations. What and all you have, what can I say? What and all you bought right now? What and all is sold? So everything is the major case, right? Everything is a major case. Everything is data. Even each and every single thing is very, very, very much important to the people who's working on it. Because once you like, let's say I'm what can I say? I'm buying a product on Amazon. Very important thing. I'm buying a laptop. Right. I'm buying a laptop in a scale of 60,000 to 70,000. But I'm 60,000 to 70,000. Next time when I get into Amazon, the same recommendation is going to be giving, but with the same other products, kind of comparisons, like which is higher, which is lower, and at what circumstances, which product is higher, which product is lower, based on price, based on configurations, etc. and etc. So that is very important. Data is very important to drive your architecture to the next level and improve through game days. So right now, the flash sale days, etc., are simulating your applications to the next level, and they are driving your applications to the next schema or next era what they have in the particular environment, right? And let's get into the best practices, the design principles which is available in AWS Cloud. First thing, the scalability. We talked about scalability, like how we talked a lot about scalability when we are getting into the AWS EC2 service, a virtual type of service, which is vertical as well as horizontal, right? You guys know about it. I'm not going to explain much. Disposable resources. Server should be disposable and easily configurable. If you're not using your servers right now, if I'm not using my servers right now, I don't want to make my server on for for a long period of time. Okay, whenever I'm going to use it, I'm going to make sure to use it. I'm going to on it. If I'm not going to use it, just dispose the resources what you have been architecting, right? And automation right now. So automation is a very important thing, and the serverless architecture which has been built, which like why? Because as I said, when taking serverless classes for you, serverless are nothing but you're not gonna what can I say? provision these services, provision the resources, provision the infrastructure. AWS will take care of the about the provision. You just don't think blind. You just don't blindly think that there is no server at all. There is server, but you're not provisioning it. That's it. So that provisioning is done automatically. So that's why serverless is one of the major schemes which is being allowed inside automation. Now, infrastructure as a service, IaaS, where you don't want to make sure to work on the what can I say infrastructure whatever we needed, right? AWS provides the infrastructure like the hardware, networking, OS, etc., etc. AWS is going to give and auto scaling based on the number of requests coming from client, the number of EC2 services and number of services and number of instances which is being deployed in the particular region might be increased or might be decreased, depends upon the number of what can I say requests what we are getting. So this is being another side of the what can I say other side of development era and loose coupling. So what happens? Nothing but whenever. So you guys know, like I'm not gonna put you in a much scale, right? So whenever you are starting building an application, you will start build one single module, right? Then another single module, then another single module. Then you'll couple your application into one single. Then you'll couple any two modules into one big module. Then those big modules are coupled and coupled and coupled, so that it will build a final product. And there may be a lot of approaches called as top-down approach and bottom-up approach in both testing and developing your applications. That is very important. Make sure to start coupling your applications. That's very important. And services, not servers. I would say, please don't just use EC2, right? Please don't just what can I say use EC2. EC2 is just an what can I say service provides virtual service. Please try to have it as a backup. Try to involve a lot of other services which is available. Like you can have a lot of managing services which like can put it in a scale. Try to use S3. There are a lot of flavors of S3. Put S3 IA, S3 Glacier, S3 IFA, and go ahead with EFS. Go ahead with EBS. Go ahead with RDS. Go ahead with so based on the use case what you are developing, based on the application what you're developing, please try to think of its scale and put it in a very broader perspective so that your infrastructure has a lot of other advantages, right? Okay, so far so good, right? Because as this you already know. Whenever you are building a product, or whenever you're building any product, not only through AWS, like whenever you're building a software product, you need to know those things. But in the last slide, we talked about the design principles which is needed for you. Like the what can I say? What are all the things you need to follow when you're building when you are designing an application, when you're designing your infrastructure needed for your designing your infrastructure needed for these things. Okay, so first and foremost thing, this part, like the AWS architecting an ecosystem, will have the six pillars, which will help us to think about that whether the architecture what we build is a well architected framework or not. Like whenever you're building an architecture, please try to keep this in your mind. Please follow all those six principles. Okay, and as I say that only six principles are not standby or not standby or not as a single resource. Please try to use it as a synergy. Synergy is nothing but please try to have all those six pillars cooperated with each other so that it can able to build up an other scale and other okay so another dimension of your architecture. Let's see what are all those six pillars of it. First thing is all about operational excellence. We're going to talk a lot about it, and we're going to see a lot of services, a lot of known services, a lot of unknown services behind operational excellence. Second thing is all about security. Very important thing. Whenever you are building an application, please try to keep this in your mind. Secure. It should be secure. Like it should be secure. Third thing is all about reliability. Reliability is a very important scheme where you guys need to know about it, and it is another where we'll talk about that. And performance efficiency. Fifth is all about cost optimization. Very important. You need to optimize your cost. If your architecture is well architected framework, but unfortunately, if the cost of the architecture is too high, then it's not going to be used, right? Because even the consumers is gonna use the architecture will not try to use. Why? Because the cost is too high, right? And sustainability, very very important. It should be sustained. It should be withstand the whole what it is on the particular market, right? It should be sustainable. So they're not something to balance a trade-off. They are saying, as I said, need to work as a cooperative team. So these are the six pillars which will help you to make sure that whether the architecture, what you have built, is a well-architected framework or not? Go ahead. Please try to note down this. I'll wait for a while. I'll just wait for another 10 seconds. I'll just repeat it one more time. These six pillars are the very important thing which can help you for your well-architected framework. The first thing is all about your operational excellence. Second thing is all about the security. Third thing is all about the reliability. Fourth thing is all about the performance efficiency. The fifth thing is all about cost optimization. And finally, the sustainability. All those six pillars will make your architecture, what you have built, is as a well-architected framework. Got it? Okay. Now let's see what are all those things like each and or let us see the explanation of each and everything like the operational excellence, security, what reliability, what are the design principles need to be followed in each and every pillars of a well-architected framework. And we'll see what are the services which is running behind those things, which will help us a lot to go more over that. The first thing, the operational excellence. So operational excellence, which will includes the ability to run and monitor systems. Why? Because which very important, guys. I would say, whenever you start building your infrastructure, whenever you start building your architecture for the POC for the use case, what you're trying to put, please try to make sure that it will, what can I say, sophisticated or what it will be managing your business value. Okay. What? Why? Because you're building the architecture for these for the company or building the architecture for for the infra people, so they need to make sure that the architecture will help us to deliver a kind of business value. And what happens is nothing but it will provide a lot of procedures and it will improve the procedures which they are following right now. Okay, that's the very important thing, is all about operational excellence. Whatever you build, please try to make sure that the infrastructure what you build provides a business value, and it will also has the ability to monitor the systems, to check the systems, whether the architecture is going to provide you with a business value or not. So this is very, very important. Okay, what are the design principles behind it? The first thing, it will perform operation as a core, which performs the infrastructure as a core, and it will annotate the documentation. Very important thing, right? Because whenever you start learning a new programming language, just give me, I'll give you an instance, right? You haven't seen the programming language at all. First and foremost thing, what you'll go is nothing but you'll go for the documentation. Okay, unless until it has been annotated, unless until it is being properly arranged, you can able to understand what the programming language is going to do, what are the services, what are the other methods which is present inside the programming language is going to do. It's going to be a tedious thing, right? So that's where we're going to have, that's where very important thing, you need to annotate the documentation as well, and make frequent and small reversible changes. Why? Because whenever, like, let's, you have built an application, built the infrastructure, but if you don't change at all based on the requirement analysis, what I just said, then it's going to be very useless. Okay, it's useless. Why? Because it should be working based on the customer's overview or customer's requirements, right? And refine operational procedures frequently. Anticipate the failures. You need to think about the failures. At this particular point of time, this architecture will fail. At this particular point of time, at time t is equal to t2, this architecture is going to be failed. You need to anticipate the failures. Okay, that's very important. And learn from all operational failures. Right. So this is the first pillar. What do you have to know? The operational excellence, the architecture, what you build, which has an ability to run and monitor systems, which will provide you to a business value, and as well as it also continuously improve your system procedures as well as the supporting processes. Now let's see what are the services which is running behind. So the first thing you guys know about, I think so, in this tray, I think so, you know about AWS config. We talked about AWS config in AWS security level service, but rather than that, you haven't seen any kind of services yet. Okay, cloud formation is an infrastructure as a code service. Okay, where which will help us to automate a building pipeline or building infrastructure, where we not covered in this session too. So prepare, operate, and evolve. So you can prepare an infrastructure using AWS cloud formation and AWS config, operate those things with the help of AWS cloud formation itself, and evolve. Like you can just put the architecture inside the code build or code commit or code deploy or code pipeline. These are going to be the deployment options which is available inside AWS cloud. Second thing is all about security. As I said, so whenever you start building an application, make sure that the application what you build has been secured or not. Well, because there will be a lot of other information which you have built put inside application. Let's say it's an example. You are creating an application like an Amazon, right? You have a lot of customers' details like their name, their phone number, their email ID, etc., etc. More importantly, they do have their what may I say bank details too. So you are supposed to protect those information unless until any kind of attack has been occurred. But because while protecting those information, that system will provide a business value. Very important thing, guys. Please try to think it as a corporate people. Whenever you're working for it, try it in the case that yes, my product is going for the next level. It is going to increase the customer's value. That's it. That please try to think about it. Okay. Now, when I say about security, your mind will come about the first thing is all about IAM. Why? Because we talk a lot about IAM, and as I said about it. Okay, and in this thing you have also seen about encryption and what we have seen there, like the KMS service, the key management service provides the key for encryption and decryption. We talked about access control. We talked about shared responsibility model, and we talked about protecting the data address and protecting the data at the transit. If we haven't watched the AWS security services, what we have seen the last class, after this class, please go and watch it. It's very, very, what can I say? I've just touched a little bit about it. But if you're going for any kind of specialty, security specialty level, you need to know it in a broad way, right? And we also are gonna have the next section. What we're gonna talk today is all about the VPC section, the virtual private cloud, which we're gonna apply the security at all the layers. Like we're gonna have a lot of layers inside where it's gonna be designated for the users what has been built so far. Okay, so what are the services behind? The first and foremost thing is all about IA. The first and foremost thing is all about IA. But because the identity and access management will help you to provide an access to the users who can able to use the particular services or not. And rather than that, you have seen the MFA token, which will be applied to the MFA devices which has been attached to it. And you haven't seen about AWS STS and you haven't seen about AWS organization. Today, we're gonna see about AWS organizations too. And directive controls, which can detect it. We do know about conflict. What is the infrastructure protection which is going to happen over here? What is the data protection? What is the incident response? Please go ahead and learn the services. Some of the services we have seen, and some of them are not seen. And we'll try to cover that in the next successive, like the next successive part sections, what we have in today's class. Reliability. The third pillar behind the well-architected framework is called as reliability. Why reliability? Let's say you're working in a company. Okay, your team has almost 10 members. Unfortunately, five of them are not well due to some other circumstances. Okay, so the work is being designated for each and every people in the team. Like you are working in the dev team, and almost 10 people are available inside the dev team. Unfortunately, five of them are not available to take part in the particular process due to their unavailable circumstances. Now, what happened to the five? What happened to the work which has been designated to five people? Reliability in such a way that the remaining five people should take the work which is being allocated to all to other five people and make sure to complete it. Which makes sure that even if the other systems, even if one of these system is not working correctly, the other system which is being correlated with each other can able to take up the work and can complete the work. That's the process called as reliability. That's where you need to follow that in your architecture too. If you're having one of the service which not touch the path, right, then you should have a backup service which is available to you. That backup service which will help you a lot to put in a case like this backup, which will help you to what can I say? Even if the service is not ready to take part in the particular process, then that backup should take up the process too. Right? That's the major thing all about it. So, what are the design principles you need to know? And you can just go ahead with the things, right? So whenever building an infrastructure, please, okay, you need to mitigate the disruptions such as the misconfigurations or the transient network issues. And I don't want you to put it in the hell like just reading all those things. I wanted to provide the one liner about what the pillar is going to give you about it. Okay. And whenever you have the reliability, you need to know about the automation part of it, which can make changes to the infrastructure. Okay. And before that, as I said, stop guessing the capacity. Use auto scaling methods based on the request what you get in the dynamically. Put auto scaling over it. Go ahead with horizontal scaling and automatically recover from the failure. Okay, if you have been any detected with the failures, anticipate it, accept it, and remediate the failure before getting into biggest failure rather than what you have accepted right now. And test recovery procedures. If you are recovering from some more things, please try to put some test recovery procedures to make sure that use automation schema over there to simulate the different failures to make sure to leave the failures before it. Fine. So what are the services we have? So the further foundation is going to be IAM, guys. Okay. If any one of the IAM user is not working good, okay. Let's say I'm an IAM user called as A and B. A and B are working on the same team called as dev. But unfortunately, can't able to work at the particular point called as time T. Now what happens? We supposed to take the work what is being designated to A and supposed to complete the work. VPC is also saying those things, Visual Private Cloud, which has been designated only for you. And for Cloud Practitioner session, VPC is a not very important topic you need to know. Why? Because VPC, only 2 to 3 questions is going to come and you just what you want to know, we're going to talk about that. For secure, like, no, even for developer, VPC is not much needed. But for solution architect for specialty, solution architect professional who's going to take up, who's going to work with CI/CD pipelines and Docker DevOps, they need to know about VPC. That is very important. And change management and failure management, we talked about SD Glacier and what may say AWS auto scaling, which will help us to make sure that even if there's any reliability measures we need to take after the recovery which has been added, then we need to do according to it. Then the fourth thing is all about the performance efficiency. We talked about operational excellence. We talked about security. We talked about what can I say? We talked about reliability. We talked about now we are going to talk about the performance efficiency. Let's say you are building an application, right? The very important thing when you sell this application to the outer world, you need to make sure that it should have an high level performance. Whenever I'm building a new phone, now, just take a simple example. Like, let's say I'm building a phone called as ABC. Then I'm building in another phone in the year of 2025, which is called ABC 1A. Then in the 2026, ABC 1B. If all the three other phones is going to give me the same performance, then why the such I'm going to release the same phones one after the year with a long period of time? Should be some kind of performance efficiency, like it should have an highest camera configuration, or it should be in advanced it should have an advanced what can I say processors, etc. and etc. There should be kind of performance efficiency when I release products in a 1 year gap, right? That is very important. Whenever you build your architecture, then you should have the highest performance what you have to give. Okay, so that's important thing, guys. So it's has to include the ability to use all the computing resources efficiently, and it has to meet the system requirements. Okay, even if you have any changing requirements all over the systems what the user is going to use it, please try to make sure that it should be compatible to it, right? What are the design principles? You have to democratize advanced technologies. Advanced technologies, what happens? They become the services, and you can want to focus on product development. Okay, advanced technologies may come, but whenever you include the advanced technology, you need to focus on the performance, what is going to be raised through the advanced technologies, and go global in minutes. As I said, whenever I talked about the advantages of cloud computing, the 6 advantages of cloud computing, the first and foremost thing is go global in minutes. Why? Because it should be easily deployed in multiple regions and use serverless architecture. Why? Because nowadays serverless is blooming. Everyone can't able to put servers at their back. Please don't use servers at the back. Go ahead with serverless architecture. Lots of people are trying to put it in the case. So go ahead and use serverless architecture and experiment more often. Okay, go ahead with comparative testing. Even if you build your architecture, go ahead and start testing your architecture with the help of resources what we have. And mechanical sympathy. Be aware of all the AWS services what you have. Okay, so far so good. We talked about a lot of compute level services, databases, storage level, security, machine learning, etc. and etc. Be aware of all the AWS services. What the AWS service is going to do. At least get to know about at one liner about AWS services, what is going to make sure to going to give to it. Okay, that's very, very important. And what are the services which can help us to for performance efficiency? The first thing is all about AWS auto scaling, which can help us for selection. Okay, if anyone like if the client request is being huge, then you have to auto scale your AWS instances, EC2 instances, what we have, and review it. monitor it, and trade off. Like this is going to be the other scale of performance efficiency AWS services. And the fifth thing, what we're going to talk about is cost optimization. I said at the beginning, whenever you build your application, whenever you build your infrastructure, please try to keep in mind in such a way that it should be optimized in terms of cost. But because when you are building an application, then when I'm trying to use an application, if the cost is too huge, then why I'm supposed to use it? I will be threat. I'll be in the sort of danger. Like it will be leading to pay a lot of bills. Then I don't. What can you say? Use the architecture at all? Then your architecture, what you built, is a complete failure. Okay, I'm not saying that every services is free. Some of this, lot of services are paid. Plus, please try to make sure you use in such a way that it should be optimized in the way of providing cost to the users who are going to use it, right? So, which includes that's what I'm trying to say. What are the design principles? Go ahead with a lot of things, guys. Okay, adopt the consumption model. Like pay only for what you use. That's just one of the important thing you need to know in terms of cloud. Only for the resources what you have been provisioned. Pay only for that. Don't pay for the other resources what you have not paid, what you're not using at all. That is the one of the important thing. Right? And measure the overall efficiency. You can use CloudWatch. CloudWatch is one of the thing, cloud monitoring service which help us to make sure to provide you an efficiency towards it. Right? Stop spending money on data center operation. Why? Because as I said, whenever you're building your on-premises data centers, you need to have an on-premises data center technician to take care of all those things. So you need to pay for it. You need to what I say, a lot of payment things are there. But don't go for that. Go ahead with an AWS. Go ahead with AWS. That's those all those infrastructure part, and it will also make the customers to focus on the organization projects. They don't want to focus on this should be kept there, and they should be kept there. There should be connection in this service. Not at all. And analyze an attributed expenditure and use managed and application level services to reduce the cost of ownership. Right. And what are the services which will help? AWS budgets. What we're going to see right now today in the today's class, we are going to talk about AWS budgets in this today, and a lot of other services, guys. Lambda, and you can use the news blog, etc., which can help you to make sure to optimize your cost over the time. Fine. And finally, sustainability. The sustainability is that whenever you build your infrastructure, make sure it will withstand for the particular time what they have been built. It should be sustainable. Very important. It should be sustainable, right? So the pillar focus on the environmental impacts of running. Like it should have working on the minimizing on the environmental impacts of running cloud workloads, right? And what are the design principles? Go ahead, the same thing. Like whenever what you have in mind, the same thing have given over here. Understand your impact. Okay. Establish the sustainable goal. These are the goals, the long-term goals for each workload, each part of when I say circumstances, what I'm going to work. Make sure to set up goal. It should be sustainable. Maximize the utilization. What are all the services what you're given over here? You have supposed to utilize maximum. Okay, and use managed services, reduce the downstream impact of your cloud workloads. Okay, so what are the services? The first thing is all about like easy to auto scale, which is a server easy to auto scaling. Then you can go for the serverless offering, Lambda or Fargate, and Lambda or Fargate, and Cost Explorer. You can go ahead with AWS Graviton 2. We haven't seen it, and we talked about EFS, the Elastic File System, S3 Lifecycle, Amazon Data Lifecycle Manager, and Read Local, Write Global, the RDS Read Replicas, the Aurora Global DB, DynamoDB Global Table, CloudFront, etc., which will help us to make sure your application or the infrastructure as sustainable as. So these are the 6 pillars of AWS architecting and well ecosystem. And as I said, if you are having an infrastructure, do you want to check your infrastructure is well architected framework? Then use the 6 principles, starting with operational excellence, security, performance efficiency, reliability, sustainability, and other custom optimization, which will help us to make sure that this your architecture, what you built, is a well architected framework. As I said, this is full of theory. I would have bored you. Why? Because still, if I haven't giving you much more clearance, this is all about full of theory. The word, what I've said, will help you to make sure that yes, our architecture should be sustainable. Our architecture, what we are building, should be cost optimizable. Our architecture should be should be secure. Okay, that's what the major goal of this AWS architecting and ecosystem. Okay, now AWS does have tool. Yes, you have built your application, right? If you have built your architecture, now we want to check whether the architecture what you built is a well architect or not. Does AWS provides any tool? Yes. AWS well-architected tool is a tool which is provided by the AWS, which help us to review our architecture against the six pillar of well-architected framework. Okay, how does it work? You can select a workload and answer the questions, review our answers against the six pillars, obtain advice. You can get videos and documentation, generate a report, and see the results in dashboard. I've given you, since if you have created a console, created an AWS management console, go ahead with the link and answer the questions, and you could get whether the architecture, what you built, is a well architecture against the six pillars or not. And right sizing, guys. Okay, so with the help of the word, right sizing is another important tool which is available inside AWS, which help us for your particular application. Let's say you're building an application, building infrastructure, which needs around T2.micro as an instance type. Then AWS right sizing will recommend only T2.micro as an instance type. Or else, if you're building an ML application which needs M4.2x large of instance type, then AWS right sizing will make sure to what can I say? Recommend your M2.24 M4.2 2x instance type. So this is going to be the thing. Based on the infrastructure, what you're going to build, the instance type will be recommended by the AWS right sizing. Do you think that whether it is going to be too huge? No. It provides you a simplest one, which will help us to run the infrastructure clearly on top. Okay. And once after sharing this notes to you, you can go ahead with the AWS ecosystem resources, the blogs which is helpful for you, the forums, community, and the white papers. Very important thing. The quick start, as I said, and AWS solution. And I also said one of the important thing, the reinvent. Go ahead and watch the reinvent and make sure to know about the recent releases about AWS cloud. Right now, they are focusing on Python, focusing on Q, focusing on generative AI offerings. Go ahead and watch. If you haven't know about what generative AI at all, please try to get to know about the services, get to know about how far they are making sure that the services which will going to be released will be helpful for the customers or not. Right? Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. Sorry. Okay, let's start with VPC, the virtual private cloud section. As I said, it's going to be a quick intro. Okay, let's say that's a very important thing, guys. Okay, if you're going to have your infrastructure, okay, if you're going to have an infrastructure, if you're going to build an application, right? Say you want have it for your designated user. Okay, you're going to have it as a designated user, only for your designated user. So what happens for this designated user? You want to have an private space for the designated user. Then that private space is called as VPC, just for simple understanding. So inside VPC, you will make sure that you will have your infrastructure which is being built inside. Now, how can we contact this VPC? Through internet, we can able to contact this VPC. Okay, this VPC has two important subsections, I will just say, and in the next slide, the same thing is available. There are two sections available inside this VPC. One is all about subnets, which is nothing but the private subnet, and other one is public subnet. Sorry, guys, my handwriting is too uh, dirty today. Why? Because I'm not at my table. So there are two important things. One is private subnet, another one is public subnet. Okay, public subnet is available publicly throughout the internet. You will share the IP address to them, and private is not accessible. It is being designated only for the user. This is what the quick intro, guys. If you want your architecture, what you're trying to build, it should be designated only for the user. Then go ahead with the VPC, the virtual private cloud, what you have, right? Okay, this is VPC and subnet primers. Okay, right now this is what the VPC is, and you might have the public subnet over here, and you have a public subnet over here inside an what can I say availability zone. Okay, private networks to deploy resources, which is a regional resource. And subnet will allow you to partition network inside a VPC like an availability zone resource. Okay, the subnet will split your what may I say virtual private cloud into two different extremes, whether it is going to be two extremes or three extremes or four extremes, depends upon the number of subnet what you're going to create inside your AWS what may I say VPC, right? And a public subnet is a subnet that is accessible from the internet. As I said, it is very I can say it is public, you can access that from the internet. And the private subnet is a subnet that is not accessible from the internet. So to define the access to the internet in between subnets, we'll use a route table. As a pin, route table is a table which consists of both what can I say designation IP address and sender's IP address, which will help the sender to find the nearest designation as quick as possible, so that they can share the what can I say data from one end to another end. Okay. Okay, this is a VPC diagram, guys. Okay, you may be able to see this is an AWS cloud, and inside this, I do have an AWS region, two availability zones inside. There may be three availability zones, but within two availability zones, I am deploying a VPC inside this, and the VPC CIDR range, the class interdomain routing range is 10.0.0 with the 16 as a port address. And we have two important subnets inside. One is all about public subnet, another one is all about private subnet. Inside inside the both of the availability zones what we have. Okay, this public subnet is answered inside AZ1, and this public subnet is inside AZ2. This private subnet is inside AZ1, and this private subnet is inside AZ2. And a very important thing, this public subnet can be accessible through internet, and this private subnet is not accessible to the internet since it is private. It is being designated only to the user is being created, and as well as this public subnet is accessible to through internet. Okay, but the very important thing is nothing but this is from AZ1, this is from the availability zone 1, this is from availability zones 2. Okay, and this is also not accessible since it is a private subnet. So this is how you can make sure that this is how your VPC will look like. Fine. Okay. Internet gateway and NAT gateways, which is NAT stands for Network Address Translation. Internet gateways and NAT gateways. Now, so far, so good. You said you can able to communicate through the subnets through internet. How? Very important thing. How? Only through internet gateway. Internet gateway is an intermediate between between the internet as well as for the public subnet. The internet gateway will allow the traffic from the internet which can enter into the public subnet. Then what is all about NAT gateway? So that means NAT gateways. Now, so far, so go have said that private subnet will not take any offerings from it. So NAT gateway is the firm which can help us to make sure that NAT gateway will make sure to take up the what can I say request from the private subnet, which can make sure to put outside to the other users who are trying to push to it, right? So this is what the case. So internet gateways help your VPC instances connected with the internet, which will help you a lot. And private subnets have a route to the internet gateway. Sorry guys, public subnets have a route to the internet gateway. So through the internet gateway, the public subnet will have a route to the internet. Okay. And what about the private subnet? The NAT gateway and the NAT instances allow your instances in your private subnets to access the internet while remaining private. If you want your private subnet, want to access the internet, but still want to be active as a private, then use NAT gateway. That NAT gateway will help us to be an intermediary between the private subnet as well as the internet gateway, which can access to the internet. What NAT gateway does is that NAT gateway will change the replying coming from the private subnet as a public subnet incoming. Make sure that internet gateway accepts it and provides the communication towards the internet. Right? This is the difference between internet gateway and NAT gateway. Internet gateway allows the public subnet to get connected to the internet. NAT gateway allows the private subnet to get connected to the internet, staying as a private. How? The request coming from the private subnet makes a request coming from the private subnet will be converted as a public subnet request by the NAT gateway, so that the internet gateway thinks that the request is coming as a public subnet gateway and provides access to the internet. Clear so far? This is all about internet gateways as well as the NAT gateways. Now, network ACL and security groups. So when I taught what can I say when I taught the security groups, some of you were asking question called stateful and stateless. This is where you can able to answer the question. Network access control list, which is NACL, is in security layer which is being pushed for the subnet levels, right? Which is available over the subnet layers, like either going to be a public subnet or private subnet, which is being allowed for the subnet layers. Security groups is another security layer which is being attached to the EC2 instances. Okay, there are different. Network ACL is being attached to the public subnet, like to the subnet layer. Security group is being attached to the what can I say to the EC2 instances. Fine. So what about network ACL? Network ACL will have the control traffic from and to the subnet, and network ACL will have both allow as well as deny rules. When I taught security groups, have said you an instance that security group does not have deny rules at all. It has only allow rules, and they are attached to the subnet level, and rules only include IP addresses. When I taught you the security groups have other security groups addresses too, not only IP addresses, other security groups addresses too. But because there might be, what can I say, a communication between one security group to another security group. Yes, it is possible. Okay, so they might have other security groups addresses too. Now we guys think both are giving security to the what can I say security to either to the EC2 instances or either to these subnet level layers. What is the difference between network ACL and security groups? This is where this is the difference between network. Like this is a table what I took from AWS official documentation only. So first thing you need to know about this thing is security groups are operates at the instance level, and network ACL is being operated at the subnet level. Security group will only have an allow rules. The network ACL will have both allow rules and deny rules. Hence, this is the question. This is the answer for the question. Security groups are stateful. Return traffic is automatically route regardless of any rule. Okay, I will explain you with an example, guys. Okay, it's network ACL is stateless. Return traffic must be explicitly allowed by the rules. Okay, we evaluate all rules before deciding whether to allow the traffic. In security group, should we allow a traffic? We need to decide all those things. Okay, and if it applies to an instance only, if someone specifies to the security group, and in network ACL, it applies to all the instances in the subnet level which has been associated with it. Okay, what is the difference between this? I'll just show you here. Okay, what is the difference between this? Let's see. So now I do have an EC2 instance. Within this EC2 instance, I do have a security group which has been attached. Okay, SG has been attached to it. Okay, it's been attached to it. Let me change the color of the pen. Now, I do have this security group will have an inbound rule as let me say it has only the IP address as 192.168.2.231. Only this IP address should access the EC2 instances. Okay, now this IP is coming inside the same IP address, which is 192.168.2.231 is coming inside. Okay, what happens is over here now this SG will allow this inbound rule. Yes, SG will allow this inbound rule since the IP address has been matched, and after this it will go out of this inbound rule. Now this is going to be an outbound rule where this outbound rule satisfies that any kind of rule, any kind of IP address can go. Now this IP address is 192.168.2.231. Now, if the same IP address comes inside, okay, if the same IP address comes inside, okay, now only the IP address came inside, like through the inbound rule, we have satisfied it, like it has accessed the EC2 instance and it has gone out. Now, if the same IP address comes again to the EC2 instances, now whether the security group will check or not, that's the question for us. Whether the security group will check or not, can anyone able to answer it? If whether the security group will check or not, let me give you a quick glance over it. No. Yes, that's the correct answer. No. Why? Because security groups are stateful. Okay. Why? Because even if you have the same traffic which has been already allowed, the security groups will not check it one more time. But let me give you another instance in terms of network ACL. Okay, in terms of network AC. Let's say you are having another, can I say, you are having a subnet, or let me take, you are having a public sub. Inside the public subnet, you have two EC2 instances. Okay, two EC2 instances, which is being attached with security group 1 and attached to security group 2. Now, this is being attached with NACL, which is the network access control list. It will take the network access control list will only take 192.168.2.231. Okay. Now, same IP comes here with the IP address as 192.168.2.231, and it will allow it. Now, the security group 1, it will allow it, and it will come back. And what happens over here is nothing but after reaching out, it has to go back to the security group 2. It has to allow NACL. NACL should have supposed to allow it. Now, answer my question whether NACL will check that particular IP address or not. NACL will check the traffic or not. Yes, I think so. Only one is answering. So, yes, yeah, okay. So, why? Because NACL is a stateless thing. Okay, even when you put the same neighboring, what can I say, same neighboring traffic into it, it will check. Why? Because it has explicit allow as well as deny rules. It will check whether even if it has been already entered into it or not. This is called as stateful as well as stateless transsystem, or stateless security layers, which is available inside AWS Cloud. Got clear cut understanding about what network ACLs and security groups is, right? Okay. Now, what is VPC flow logs? Okay. Now, as I said, now maybe this could be another condition, right? Okay. Okay. Let me give you another overview. Now, I do have one VPC. Inside this VPC, I have a public subnet, and I do have one EC2 instances attached with SG1. Now, I do have another VPC with public subnet, and I do have another EC2 instance attached with SG2. Now, what happens over here is, and it has been attached with NACL too, guys. Okay, for your understanding, I'll also attach NACL to it. Now, from this public subnet, this EC2 instance want to communicate with this EC2 instance, and now this EC2 instance want to communicate with this EC2 instance. What is needed? This EC2 instance want to know about the IP address where the VPC is located, where the SD2 is located. Now, this where the EC2 instance is located. Now, this EC2 instance want to know about where this EC2 instance is located, what is the public subnet ID, what is the CIDR address. So there is a flow from this VPC to another VPC, and there are to and fro communication between it. So how to make sure that, how to log it, how to make sure that, how to put it all those things in a particular file in such a way that we can able to revive it after after some time. Then that is the service which helps you log, called as VPC flow logs. VPC flow logs is a service which helps us to make sure to take up the logs between the traffic communication of the VPCs, like the virtual private cloud happening inside the traffic happening inside the virtual private cloud. You need to know about the logs which is happening. You need to know about the traffic which is happening inside it. You need to logs. You need to take it as a log. Then VPC flow logs is the particular example. So it captures the information about IP traffic. What are the things? So we have VPC flow logs from one VPC to another VPC. You have subnet flow logs from one subnet to another subnet. It can be inside one VPC itself, from one public subnet to another private subnet, or one public subnet to another public subnet, and vice versa. Anything is possible. Or within other two VPCs, within two subnets, you can also take it over there. And there is also elastic network interface flow logs, which is not needed for you right now. And it also helps to monitor and troubleshoot your connectivity issues. Example, which is subnets to internet. As I said, from subnets may be going to internet, and from internet they may be coming to subnet, or there might be communication between subnet as well as the subnet. Okay, this might be the case. And what are all the information which is being cached? So might be having the configuration about elastic load balancer, elastic cache, which has been associated with RDS for higher performance, or RDS, or Aurora DB, etc., etc., etc. Might be this is the case where we need to work on it. And VPC flow log data has been gone to S3 or CloudWatch logs, which is another what can I say, contemporary resources which is being used to make sure to put the logs inside. Now, VPC peering. VPC peering is one of the important service, guys. Okay, VPC peering which help you to connect both VPCs which is available inside your AWS infrastructure. Okay, if you have VPC A and VPC B, want to get connected both VPC A and VPC B, then the service which help you log is called as VPC peering. Okay, want to connect both VPC A and VPC C and VPC C and VPC A, then VPC peering is the one which will help you a lot. So, which will connect to VPC privately using AWS network. Very important thing, guys. It is private. Okay, it is private, and make them behave as they were in the same network. Maybe they're in this different networks, right? Because the VPC CIDR ranges may be going with the different networks. But what happens in when we are peering the VPCs? They want they'll behave it as if they'll present inside one single network itself. So must not have overlapping CIDR or said. Okay. Now what VPC endpoint is all about? I know I'm going too fast, and I know I'm not getting into the much more clear-cut explanation about what are all those things. Why? Because this is not needed for you at all for the cloud practitioner level. As I said, for cloud practitioner, you need to know what VPC is, what are the things which is available for you to make sure to understand about it. That's it. Now, what VPC endpoint is all about? Now we have been created the VPCs, and inside the VPC, you have created a subnet, and inside the subnet, you have been deployed the resources. Now we want to connect the resources which is present inside your VPC subnets. Then you need to have an endpoint which will help you make sure to work on it. Okay. Here from the example, what I've given over here, the VPC endpoint gateway will help for S3 and DynamoDB connection, which is being connected to your EC2 instances. Or else the VPC endpoint interface, which is ENI, will be helpful to connecting to the CloudWatch metrics. Okay. So endpoints allows you to connect to AWS services using a private network instead of a public WWW network. So instead of having a public network, you can use this private network instead to make sure to connect to your other services. To integrate your VPC services into another services, go ahead and use the VPC endpoint gateway. As I said, VPC endpoint gateway is used for S3 and DynamoDB, and VPC endpoint interface is used for the rest of the things. And AWS private link, which is an what can I say, AWS private link, which is in VPC endpoint servers. So what happens? So instead of your VPC peering or instead of your internet gateways, NAT and route tables, if you want to connect your AWS services or want to connect, what can I say, want to expose your services to thousands of VPC, but it should be very, very secured, then go ahead and use the AWS private link. Okay. Now what I've done here over here is nothing but I do have a third-party VPC, and you're also having my own VPC. Okay. So so what happens? Nothing but I need to there are maybe a lot of other VPCs which is present inside. I need to make sure to expose to all those services to thousands of VPCs, and to be a more secure way, then private link is one of my other circumstance. Okay. Fine. What site-to-site VPN as well as direct connect is all about? Site-to-site VPN is a service which helps you to connect to your on-premises data center to an AWS cloud virtual private cloud. Okay, that is site-to-site VPN. And very important thing, site-to-site VPN will connect your on-premises data center to your virtual private cloud through a public network. Then what direct connect is all about? With the help of the example what I given over here. Direct connect is a service which helps you to connect your on-premises data center to a virtual private cloud through a cable. It is very, very private. It's been designated to it. Okay. So site-to-site VPN, which connects an on-premises VPN to AWS, the connection is automatically encrypted and goes over the public network. What about direct connect? Direct connect establishes a physical connection between on-premises and AWS. The connection is private, secure, and fast. Goes over a private network. Take at least a month to establish. Now, to make sure to what will happen, what and all you needed for your site-to-site VPN to be happen, which is nothing but a public connection between your on-premises data center to an AWS VPC. First thing you need to know about is nothing but you should have a customer gateway in your corporate data center, which is nothing but your on-premises data center. Second thing, inside your Amazon, you should have a virtual private gateway, which is nothing but a VPG inside your VPC, which will help us to connect, which will help us help the site-to-site VPN to connect the customer gateway with the virtual private gateway. Right? So this you need to know about it. Now, what AWS Client VPN is all about? AWS Client VPN is nothing but you might have your on-premises center with a lot of systems. So what happens is nothing but AWS Client VPN will connect from your computer using your open VPN to your private network in AWS and on-premises. Okay, what happens is nothing but now you do have your what may I say a computer with AWS client VPN. That is the open VPN. With the help of internet, you can connect to the AWS VPC. Now, with the VPC, want to connect to the on-premises. Then the one other the go is going to be using site-to-site VPN, where you're using virtual private gateway inside your VPC, and inside your on-premises, you're using a customer gateway to get connected to the both those things. Fine. Okay. What is transit gateway? Transit gateway is nothing but you know guys about what transit is all about whenever the data is in the moving stage. So transit gateway is nothing but you have a lot of transit appearing that may be connecting. They will be connected between a lot of different AWS services. So what is the major connection we need to go ahead with? The first and foremost connection, what comes to our mind is nothing but the hub and spoke connection, which is nothing but the connection what is made at the right is the hub and spoke connection. Okay. So transit gateway, which is one single gateway to provide this functionality, to provide you a hub and spoke functionality, hub and spoke connection. Transit gateway is a one single gateway to provide the functionality, and it works with the direct connect gateway and the VPN connections too. Okay, so this is all about VPC. I do know, guys, you haven't, what may I say, it's a lot of things. And as I said, yeah, you haven't understood much better inside. This is what the scalable thing, what we know about an AWS. VPC is not needed for you at all right now, the stage at the beginner of your AWS Cloud Practitioner. And just want to know about VPC is that VPC is being used for a virtual private cloud for your AWS user, for your user, designated user. Inside that, you have a lot of primers, which is subnets. You might be having private subnet, you might be having public subnet. Go ahead with this thought. Go ahead to know about what network access layer, network access control is, the NACL and the storage and the security groups, the difference between them. And go ahead with the other gateways which is available over there, and the NAT and other circumstances. Rather than that, please don't go much deeper. You can't able to understand, and it is not needed for you, or not needed for you at this stage of fun. Okay, so let me have a quick question. Have anyone understood, like, have anyone understood what VPC is? If you guys know, just go ahead. Okay, I'm not going to take much things. Did you guys understood what VPC is? Yes, okay, that's good. Okay. Okay, yes. I think the only two are available in the class. Rather than the other things or other people are not available. Did you guys understood what VPC is? VPC is a very huge topic, guys. I've taught only in almost 25 minutes gap. Okay. Did you guys understood what VPC is? Or you need much more explanation? Okay, good. Glad you have understood it. So that's easy for me to get into the next part of the section. What is the difference between CloudTrail and CloudWatch servers? CloudWatch is a metric service, okay. CloudWatch is a metric service which will help us to make sure that what are all these services you have been used, whether you have used efficiently or not, which will help us to know about it. Okay. CloudTrail is another overview about these services, which is what we have in the cloud monitoring overview. But we are not talking about cloud monitoring over here. I'll put up a video regarding CloudTrail and CloudWatch. Go ahead and watch it, which will help you a lot. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now let's get into the last part of this section, which is account management, billing, and support section. As you guys want to know about this, this is also very important for you. Okay. So account management. So far so good. For management level service, we have seen only one service, which is called as IA, which is identity and access management. Do we have another scale up of services? Yes, it is available. First thing you need to know about is that whenever you're building your organization, you need to have a lot of departments inside it. Okay, you need to have developer, you need to have tester, you need to have HR department, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so that kind of management is very very important for you when you're building your organization. That's what we're gonna see in the account management section, and we're gonna go ahead with billing. So how far the billing can help us to? Okay, I'm not going to give you the lot of numerical things, and I'm not going to bore you with that thing. But instead, I'm going to give you the scale where how the billing, how the pricing can be done in terms of AWS. Okay, so let's start with this thing. So first of all, I need to know, I want to tell you about AWS organization. So whenever you're building an organization, you need to know, you need to have an AWS organization service, which is a global service. And it will also allow us to manage a multiple AWS accounts. Okay. And the main account, what you create inside is called as master account. What are the cost benefits? It has a consolidated billing across all accounts. Why? Because you may have a lot of multiple accounts inside one organization. We'll have consolidate one billing for all the accounts, what you have, a single payment method, and you have all the pooling of resource easy to instances for the optimal savings. And API is available to automate your AWS account creation. And do we have any account privileges? Can we restrict? Can we put any conditions over there to the accounts which has been available inside? Yes, we can. That way we can, with the help of service control policies, which is SCP. Okay, you have seen those things. So SCP is the service control policies which can able to restrict the account privileges inside the AWS organizations. Okay, so what are the multi-account strategies which is to be followed? So first of all, whenever you are creating an AWS organization, please try to put a lot of departments inside AWS organization. That means create accounts per department, per cost center, per dev, per test, per production, based on the regulatory restrictions using SCPs. Okay, and what happens? Nothing but what about the multi-account versus one account multi-VPC start? You can able to make sure to understand all about the tagging standards which is being used for the billing purposes. And whenever you use those things, you can use a cloud trail to catch up those things and put a log inside S3. Okay, that will help you a lot to manage those organization into one skill set. Okay, so this is how the organizational units will look like, guys. Okay, the OUs, which has been, yes, yes. You have any question?
No, not at all. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So this is how the organizational units will look like, guys. Okay. So you have a master account, and this is also available in the AWS documentation. You can go ahead. So this is all about the master account. I'm sorry. This is all about the master account. Inside the master account, we have the business unit sale over here. We have sales OU. We have retail OU. We have finance OU. Inside the sales OU, we have sales account 1, sales account 2. This is all. So this is going to be one AWS organization. Inside this AWS organization, I do have a master account, and I've been separated this into departments. Okay, which is sales department, retail department, and finance department. Okay, so I've been separated into departments. So this is how you create your organizational units, which is called as OU. So there are a lot of different schemas which is available over here: business units, environmental lifecycle, or project based. So this is how your AWS organization will look like. This is your root OU. Inside root OU, a master account will be present, and inside the organization OU, I have two different OUs which is present inside, which is development OU and production OU. Inside production OU, I have two more OUs which is present inside. One is finance OU, another one is HR OU. So this is how the organizations can be built one after the other. Okay. Now, when I apply SCP to this thing, when I apply service control policies, which is going to restrict the policies, how are we going to apply to it? When I apply SCP to it, the master account doesn't have any restrictions to it. Like how the root account is present, it can able to access any kind of AWS resources what they have. Okay, it can have any kind of resources what they have. So what about dev OU, prod OU, and finance OU is that? Dev OU is that whenever you take up the thing, dev OU, whenever you're putting an SCP to make it manage the access and the deny scales, you can work on a particular point of view. Fine. So let's see those things in the SCP case. Okay. So SCPs, the service control policies, are nothing but which will blacklist or whitelist your IAM actions, which is to be followed over there. Okay, which is to be followed over there. It can take up those things. And as I said, it is applied at the OU level or applied to the account level. You either can be applied to the OU, which is present inside the other organizational units, or it can also be applied to the uh, to the organizational units itself. As you see, there are a lot of other organization units inside root OU as well as dev OU, right? You can assign SCPs to the dev OU, prod OU, finance OU, or HR OU based on the use case what you're working on it, right? So it does not apply to the master account. That's what I said. So you don't have you will not apply the SCPs to the master account. It is free for it. Master account isn't like you can able to think about that as a root account, which will apply, which does not have any restrictions at all. So SCPs must have an explicit allow and does not allow anything by default. You should have an explicit allow. And what are the use cases? We have given over here. These are the use cases which can help us to make sure to work on this thing. I'll give you an example. Okay, let's see. So here the root OU has an SCP called as full AWS access SCP. And master account has been given with an SCP called as deny access Athena SCP. Does master account can okay, I'll just explain you another case. Okay, prod EOU has been given with an SCP called as deny redshift SCP. And account A, which is present inside the production overview, has been given with the SCP called as authorized redshift SCP. Now, HR organizational unit has been given with deny AWS Lambda SCP. And inside production OU, we have two important OUs, which is called HR OU as well as finance OU, where account B and account C is being given to it. Now I'm not going to answer. I'm going to ask you the questions. Now, what is the SC, what is the what can I say the controls, the restrictions being allowed to the master account? Go ahead. This is open for you, but because only if you understand this will help you a lot. Go ahead and say if there is any changes. I will try to align you in the particular best. What are all the restrictions which is being attached to the master account? Even if it is wrong, no issues, guys. Go ahead and tell so that I'm going to explain you in much better way. What are all the restrictions which is being attached to the root account? That means the master account. No restrictions. But unfortunately, what happens? Nothing. Yes, okay. Unfortunately, what happens? Nothing. But root account is being the master account is being associated with deny access Athena SCP. Why not? You haven't considered that at all. Why? Why, guys? You haven't considered that at all. But because master account has been attached with deny access, that means I've been providing the explicit deny access to it. I'm saying that master account don't access Athena at all. Okay, you don't have an access to Athena at all. But you are saying that there is no restriction at all. Why? Go ahead. If you have not, what can I say? If you can't able to understand, I will try to put you in a better skill. That's why. Go ahead. Why master account? You are saying that there is no restrictions at all. But I have given explicit deny over here. That is deny access Athena SCP. Guys, if you don't know, please say I can't. I can't able to understand or I don't know at all. Okay, I'm thinking that whether I'm only speaking in this class. Okay. Think about a parent-child relationship. What you have already learned. Okay, where master account is being present inside root OU. Root OU has a full AWS access SCP, right? So what happens is nothing but even though the master account has a deny access Athena SCP, since master account is present inside root OU, the SCP which has been attached to the root OU is been attached to the master account too. This is why I say that master account does not have any kind of restrictions. Now, give me another answer. Now, what are all the restrictions which has been attached to the account A? What are the restrictions that has been attached to the account A? Deny redshift. Why? Because why you are saying it as deny redshift? Account A has another SCP called as authorized redshift, right? Why are you saying deny redshift? Account A has another SCP called as authorized redshift, guys. Why are you saying it as in deny redshift? Okay, so listen, guys, listen clearly. I think so you can't able to understand clearly. Okay, so very important thing is whenever you are seeing the SCP hierarchy anywhere, not only here, whenever you're seeing SCP hierarchy, please try to put your mind in nothing but a parent-child relationship. Now, master account is a child under the parent called as root OU. Okay, when what are all the policies what you attach to the root OU, the master account will take up the policies which is being attached to the root OU too. Okay, root OU will has an access called as full AWS access SCP. Even though the master account has a deny access Athena SCP, the master account is present inside root OU, which makes a sense that it doesn't have any restrictions at all. Okay, even though it has deny access Athena SCP. Now, come back to account A. Account A is present inside the protection OU, where protection OU is being given with deny redshift SCP. Okay. Now, protection OU is nothing but the parent. Account A is nothing but the child. Right. Now, even though the account A has an authorized redshift under SCP, since account A is under the production OU, which has already a policy called as deny redshift SCP, account A can't able to access the redshift since it has been denied through its parent property. Okay. Now, account B is present inside the HROU, where HROU is present inside the production OU. Production OU already denied the authorization to Redshift, and HROU has been denied authority to the AWS Lambda. Now, what happens to account B in such a way that account B can't able to access Lambda, account B can't able to access Redshift. Now, what about account C? Account C can't able to access Redshift only. Why? Because finance OU is not being attached to any kind of SCP at all. Can you able to understand right now? Please give me a double quick check whether you can able to understand right now. Okay. So listen over, guys. Okay. So the master account, what we have can do anything. No SCP is applied. Why? Because even though you say that a deny access Athena SCP is being given to over there, the root OU does have the full AWS access SCP. So the parent has another full AWS access, which helps us a lot. Okay, I'm repeating it right now. Okay, so the parent root OU has full AWS access. So even though the master account has the deny access Athena SCP, root OU can able to have the it takes the responsibilities, it takes the policies which has been attached to the root OU. Fine. This is the first part about master account. Now, what about account A? Account A can do anything. Why? Because it is inside root OU. Okay, inside root OU can do anything, but it can't able to able to access the redshift. Why? Because protection OU has the deny redshift SCP over there. Okay, it follows the property of both root OU as well as the prod OU, But unfortunately, prod OU has a denied Redshift SCP. Account A can able to access anything except the Redshift, which has been property associated with production OU, one of its parents. Okay. Now, what about account B? Account B can able to do anything. Why? Because it follows the policy of root OU. But protection OU has denied Redshift. Why? So it can able to access anything except the Redshift since it is present inside protection OU. And it can also access everything except the AWS Lambda. Why? Because it is a policy attached to the HROU. Now, what about account C? Account C has the account C is present inside root OU, so it can access anything. But account C is present inside production OU, which has a denied Redshift SCP. So account C can't able to access Redshift at all. Now, you guys able to understand what I'm trying to say? What about other? Samina, it is okay for you? Okay, nice. Okay, fine. So this is how the SCP hierarchy will run, guys. Okay. So this is how the SCP hierarchy will run. Make sure to know those things. The parent thing will be attached to the child, and even the successive parents is also being attached to the child. Okay. This is the very important thing. Okay. Let's get into the next part, the AWS control tower. So even though right now we have seen a lot about the SCPs, right? So it has been attached to it. We need to work on it. What about the control tower? So now we have set up and gone everything. Like so, need to secure the multi-account strategy. What we have seen so far. Now we have seen in the last slide we talked about master account, account A, account B, accounts. There are a lot of multiple accounts which have been associated inside one single root organization unit. So how are we going to govern it? How are we going to secure it? Do we have any service to govern and secure the multiple accounts which is present inside the organization unit? Then that is the service called as control tower. So control tower is an easiest way to set up and govern a secure and compliant multi-account AWS environment based on the best practices. You'll follow some of the best practices provided by AWS people to make sure to work on the securing and governing and multi-account strategy. What are the benefits? So first, you'll automate the setup of your environment in a few clicks. Using guardrails, you'll make sure to work on it. You'll detect the policy violations and remediate them. And you'll monitor the compliance through an interactive dashboard. Okay. So the next is all about so now the AWS organization. I think so. You have understood a somewhat a better way of understanding about what AWS organization. What are the other thing you need to know about whenever you're setting up a multi-account strategies? We talked about service control policies, and we talked about the SCPs, and finally we talked about the what can I say? The AWS control tower, which helps us to set up and secure what can I say multi-account strategy part. Now, pricing models in AWS. So there are 4 different types of pricing models, guys. The first thing is pay as you go, what I said in the first part, and I also repeated that in the AWS Well-Architected Framework too. Pay as you go, what you have used, pay for that thing. And say when you reserve for the reserving things. Let's say reservations are available for EC2 reserved instances, DynamoDB reserved capacity, Elastic Cache reserved nodes, RDS reserved instances, Redshift reserved nodes. For all this reservation, you have to pay in advance to make sure that I need for this thing, I need five EC2 instances. I need for this kind of application, I need 5 DynamoDB reserved capacity. So this is for this thing, you can able to reserve it and pay less by using more. For volume-based discounts is also available over there, and pay less as AWS grows. Okay. Now, savings plan. So this is all about a general guidelines for you whenever you start building your application. Savings plans is one of the service which help us to provide you a lot of business scaling plans when you start building your AWS architecture. So commits a certain dollar amount per hour for 1 to 3 years, and easy way to set a long-term commitment on AWS. So there are a lot of other easy saving plans. So you have EC2 saving plans, which provides up to 72% discount compared to on-demand, and commits to usage of individual instance family in a region, C5 or M5, for example, regardless of availability zone or regardless of size, whether it's going to be M5.x large or M5.4x large, it depends, regardless of that, and OS or tenancy, all upfront card, partial upfront, and no upfront card is available inside EC2 savings plan. And compute savings plan and machine learning savings plan, I have given the link over here. The same policy which has been attached to EC2 savings plan, what we have seen when I taught the EC2, the same thing is given over here. Now, AWS Compute Optimizer. AWS Compute Optimizer will reduce your cost and improves the performance whenever you start building and it will also recommend your optimal AWS resources for your workloads. Okay, let's say I'm building an architecture which with the help of AWS, what can I say? RDS instances. Okay, unfortunately, RDS is not the best thing when depends upon the scenario. Now they are putting up to scale up to Elastic Capture. So AWS Compute Optimizer will recommend the best AWS resources for my workload, and moreover, it also reduces the cost as well as it also improves the performance oriented to it. And else you choose the optimal configuration and right size your workloads, either it's going to be under provision or over provision. And how it does, it just uses the machine learning algorithms to analyze your resources, configurations, and their utilization, CloudWatch and metrics. So you can have the supported resources along to it, EC2 instances, EC2 auto scaling groups, EBS volumes, and Lambda functions, etc. And it lowers your cost by up to 25%. Okay, and recommendations can also be exported to S3. Now, what are the billing and costing tools which is available? Okay, so the first billing tool what we're going to talk about is about that is the pricing calculator. Okay, I'll show you the demo for the pricing calculator. And tracking costs in the cloud, you can use the billing dashboard, the cost allocation tags, the cost and usage reports, the cost explorer, and finally the monitoring against cost plans, which can use the billing alarms and budgets. Okay, let me just show you those things. Just give me a minute. Okay, now you guys are able to see my screen, right? Okay. So this is your AWS pricing calculator, guys. Okay, this is your pricing calculator. Go ahead and type pricing calculator, billing calculator in pricing calculator in AWS. Let's create an estimate. You don't want any kind of thing over here. Now, based on your thing, like now search by location type based on the region. As I said, it depends upon the services availability, and we can also search all the regions to search all the services. Now let me get into another first thing. First, EC2. I'm choosing EC2 over here. I'm going to configure my thing. Now what is the configuration is that? Let me load it. Okay, now I'm going to choose the region. I'm going to say it as a local zone, and let me say okay, let it be a region type, and I'll choose the region as use East. Okay. Now, what is the tenancy? It's going to be a shared instances, and operating system is going to be type of Linux. The AMI, what I'm going to choose, the content usage, the EC2 instances. You would have any instance family, or you need any kind of preferable EC2 instance, whether it's going to be C type, H type, M type. Okay, let me go with M4, and any VCPUs family. I'm going to have two VCPUs. So this is what, whether it's going to be M4 or 2x large. So I'm going to have choose M4 or 2x large. Okay. Now, so all those available options will be shown for you, and you can say you can view the summary over here. Now, this is going to be your cost for it. So your upfront cost is going to be no. There is no going to be upfront cost but for your monthly cost, you are supposed to pay $72, and for a total 12 months cost is going to be $870, $870.72. So this is how the pricing calculator works based on the resources, based on the configuration what you have. Just go ahead with pricing calculator, and pricing calculator will help you to create your, what can I say, how much it will spend when I put my EC2 servers based on the instance type what I choose for the almost for the next 12 months what I'm going to put. So this is the pricing calculator, guys. Okay, so pricing calculator will help you a lot, and please try to take this in this part. But as I said, we are not going to work with this pricing calculator at all. Okay, but as a beginner, you need to know about there is a calculator which will estimate the cost for your solution architecture what you're trying to build. Okay, now second thing is all about billing dashboard. So now we are created, now we have worked with your solution architectures, but you need to have a visualization dashboard which will help us to know about how much services you have been used and how much resources have been used for each and every AWS services present inside your solution architecture. Then that is nothing but your, how can I say, your billing dashboard. Okay. And AWS free tier dashboard, which will consist of all the free tier services available, and cost allocation tax. So the cost allocation tax is nothing but it will track your AWS cost on a detailed level. Okay, there are two types of tax. One is AWS generated tax, another one is AWS and user different tax. AWS generated tax, the tax which has been generated by AWS itself. User different tax, the tax which has been defined by the user by you. Now, what is cost and usage report? Cost and usage report is nothing but it will provide you a deep dive into a AWS cost and usages. So it will list all the AWS usage for each service category. It's going to be compute, it's going to be service, it's going to be machine learning. So provide you an AWS usage for each and every service category used by an account and also by an IAM services. Not only the root account, maybe a lot of IAM users might be present inside. So those IAM users will have a lot of other things which is being available. So they can also use a lot of AWS services, right? So we can't able to put it in another circumstance. This should be another, oh, there should be another thing. So that cost and usage report will provide each and every IAM users as well as the root account. They can what are all the services they've used, how much time they've used. It will provide you a detailed thing. And cost explorer is another overview, guys. It will visualize, understand, and manage your AWS costs and usages over time. And there are three different levels. You may be monthly costs, maybe be hourly, and it can be resource level too. So one liner for AWS. So next thing, billing alarms. So billing alarms is nothing but whenever you created a billing, it will be associated with a simple alarm which will be stored in a CloudWatch metrics, especially in US East one, where you can use those things to make sure to check the billing alarms. Budget. Here is what's one of the important service, guys. Okay. Why? Because whenever you start building your architecture, unfortunately, you haven't seen the what can I say budget at all. So you may not set a budget, right? This limit. I don't want to go behind this limit. I don't want to stay only up to $50. It should not go behind $50. What you will do something, but inside AWS budget, you will create a budget in such a way that my architecture should not go behind $50. Okay, so you will create a budget, and once if it is go behind $50, you will set up an alarm. Okay, you will set up a CloudWatch alarms to make sure that yes, the cost has been exceeded than the budget what you have been creating. Okay, that is what the AWS budget is all about. And there are three different types. One is usage, and the cost. Another one is all about reservation. And advisor. Trusted advisor, you don't want to install anything. It's a high-level AWS account assessment, which will analyze your AWS accounts and provides recommendation into 5 different categories, guys. One is all about cost optimization, performance, security, fault tolerance, and finally the service limits. Okay. And finally, the AWS support plans. AWS support plan is another way of providing another, what can I say, for like a guidelines to the users who are using AWS. There are different flavors of support plans, starting with basic support plan, which is free of cost, and developer support plan, which includes all basic support plan plus business hard email access to cloud support associates. And you also have AWS business support plan, which is 24/7, full set of checks plus API access, which provides you a 24/7 phone, email, and chat access to cloud support engineers too. And we also have AWS Enterprise on-ramp support plan, and finally AWS Enterprise support plan. So this is all about a billing. I've given you a one-liner. There is for each and every service you need to know about different scenarios, but I don't want to bore you with that thing. Just know about one-liner. That's enough for you. Okay. So it's an end of today's session, and that's the end of the last session of this EP2. So we started with this. Let's see the summary of it. We talked about the AWS Cloud Club, the AWS Cloud Club best practices, and there is a lot of other team offerings. We have AWS Well-Architected Framework. We talked about it, and we talked about all the 6 pillars of AWS Well-Architected Framework, starting with operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and sustainability. And we talked about the AWS Well-Architect tool, which will help us to make sure that whether the architecture, what you built is against the 6 pillars, and will provide you the recommendation, what are all the things you need to change, or what are the score behind it, and AWS right sizing for the architecture, what you built, what type of what is the size of the instance type should be put behind it to it. Okay. And we talked about virtual private cloud and VPC in subnet primers. We talked about internet gateways and NAT gateways. Internet gateways is used for public subnets. NAT gateways is used for private subnets to get access to the internet. And we talked about network ACL, which has been attached to the subnet layers, security groups, which has been attached to EC2 instance, and the difference between network ACL and security groups, where security groups is a stateful, network ACL is a stateless. We talked about VPC flow logs, the traffic between two VPCs, two subnets, and we talked about VPC peering, connection between two VPCs, and we talked about VPC endpoints to connect with the what may I say um, to connect to the other AWS services without public thing, like without internet. We can use this VPC endpoints, and AWS private link to provide you a secure way of connection. We talked about site-to-site VPN and direct connect. Site-to-site VPN, which provides you a public through internet, we can able to connect our on-premises data center to an AWS VPC, and through a public thing. And direct connect will help you to provide a physical connection towards that thing. And we talked about AWS Client VPN. We talked about Transit Gateway too. And finally, in terms of account management, billing, and support section, we talked about AWS organizations. The multi-account strategy should be followed, and how to restrict the policies. We talked about service control policies, and organizational units, a very important topic. And SCP hierarchies. What are you guys stuck at the beginning, or stuck at the middle? So SCP hierarchies is also one of the important thing. We talked about AWS Control Tower to govern and secure our multi-account strategies, which is available inside our AWS organizations. And we talked about pricing models in AWS. It might be savings plan, and we talked about AWS Compute Optimizer. We talked about billing and cost optimization tools, all those one-liner, all those things. So this is the end of your free AWS CP course. So glad you have liked it. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer for the questions. Guys, you will get the PPT after the session. Okay. So if you have any questions in today's class, I can able to answer. And a very important thing, guys, to give you another one more thing, your pre-booking has been started. Okay, so the pre-booking is available in the chat as well as in the description of your group. Please pre-book yourself and start doing the payment. Why? Because you will be delving into another overview of AWS Developer Associate and what are all the services we have seen. We're going to see another deep diver into it. We'll be seeing a lot of hands-on. We'll be giving you a lot of practices which will help you a lot to get into a cloud domain. Okay, so that is the major thing. And you have a lot of other offerings like combo offers, and you will be given access to CDP network community. And I'll be providing all the resources what you needed, and interview preparation guides and interview preparation, like our what can I say, our admin team will be providing continuous recommendations to you, all the openings for both freshers and for the experienced people. Please join. Go to the pre-booking link, start pre-book yourself, and start doing the payments, right? And please give us a Google review, so which will help us a lot, right? Guys, if you have any doubt, I can able to answer to it. And guys, in your Zoom link, please try to change your name as your first name and last name, what you're given inside the thing, which will help the admin team to track your attendance. Please do it. You will get to know about when they're going to have a quiz. So admin team will inform you. Okay, guys, if you don't have any doubts, Thank you everyone for joining, and it was a great experience for me to working teaching you the cloud practitioner course, and glad that you have liked the course, and please do watch the sessions if you can't able to understand any one of the topic, and it will help me a lot to go ahead. And I hope that everyone will join the AWS CDP program, the cloud developer, where we're gonna delve a lot into it. And I'm excited for this thing. And we'll all meet there at the AWS CDP program. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, just wait. Just wait. And okay, let me give something. Okay, guys. So, okay. So I need your feedbacks, okay, which will help me a lot. Okay. Please put your feedbacks in the comments, and as well as if you want to share any feedback to me, you can also open your mic and speak. Okay. It will help me to what you do. Go ahead. And I also got the Google review form too, right? Okay, guys. Okay. So a Google form has been shared to you to give the feedback. So please give the feedback for the AWS cloud as well as the Google review too. You are supposed to give the Google review as well as in the Google form for the AWS cloud practitioner feedback. So which will help us a lot to transform this into another beautiful sessions, guys. Okay. Please try to put that thing too, right? And if you want anyone to convey anything, you can also speak. Okay. Guys, it's an humble request. Please give the feedback, which will help us a lot. Please give us a feedback. Okay, guys. So please give the feedback. Okay, those only who does gives the feedback will get the AWS Cloud Practitioner certificate from the CDPNetworks. And as I said, um, this is a very important thing. Okay, please try to give the feedback as well as the Google review, which will help us a lot. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. And as I said, the cloud developer program is gonna start from 16th of December, and we'll all meet at 16th of December with the newest extravaganza of AWS developer associates. Okay, so a lot of hands-on, which will help you a lot to learn a lot into it. Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye bye.